The Jets have a new quarterback. It is Justin Fields, headed to New York on a 2-year deal.
Sources tell the insiders that Sam Darnold is closing in on a deal to land with the Seattle Seahawks.
If yesterday we got some crazy news in regards to the wide receiver market in the NFL, today it got even crazier as we determined the futures of some of the biggest quarterbacks that are available on the market. So before we get to the content, I'm sure you guys know we launched a brand new baseball channel called Uni Diamond Talk. We're giving away 10 copies of MLB The Show 25 to a subscriber that turns on their notifications on that channel. And now that we get all of that out of the way, today's video is sponsored by Prize Picks. We've been having a dominant run making easy money on our NBA props that I give away on my Instagram at The Flight Mike and on my Patreon at Mikerophone. Make sure you use my promo code Mikerophone to get $50 when you make a play of $5 or more, or just click in the link in the description down below. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mike check 1212. What's going on, everybody? Guys, since free agency has been moving so quickly, there's going to be some instances where we combine multiple bits of news just into one video, primarily because I don't want to bombard you guys with too much content. This past year was very unique for Sam Darnold, a player that was originally selected number 3 overall in the 2018 NFL draft and was viewed as a journeyman NFL bust. Sam Darnold came to terms with the fact that he might just be a backup in the NFL, and he decided to sign a contract with the Minnesota Vikings last year to be the bridge QB to JJ McCarthy. Now, Kevin O'Connell said going into this season that the plan was for Sam Darnold to start, but typically when this happens, you might have the bridge quarterback starting for like 6 or 7 games before you put in your brand new rookie quarterback that you drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. But that's not what would happen. JJ McCarthy would suffer an injury, putting him out for the entire season, and Sam Darnold had a unique opportunity, teaming up with Kevin O'Connell, probably the best head coach he's ever had the opportunity to start for, while also getting the opportunity to throw the football to Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, and TJ Hawkinson with a balanced rushing attack featuring Aaron Jones. And one of the biggest surprises of the season was the Minnesota Vikings were one of the top defenses in the NFL. The result? Sam Darnold led the Minnesota Vikings to a 14-3 record. On top of that, he threw for 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and over 4,300 passing yards, finishing with his first Pro Bowl of his career and leading some fans to wonder what was to happen if Sam Darnold was to lead the Minnesota Vikings to a Super Bowl. Unfortunately for Sam Darnold and Vikings fans, he would choke throughout the last 2 games of his career with the Vikings. Against the Detroit Lions in Week 17, Sam Darnold would put up a dud, throwing for no touchdowns, no interceptions, 166 passing yards, and only completing 44% of his passes. And then the very next week against the LA Rams, he didn't put forward his best showing either. Once again, only leading the Vikings to 9 points, completing 62% of his passes, throwing for 245 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. This slightly affected Sam Darnold's market because originally we were speculating that he was going to get a contract somewhere in the mid-40s, but this made things a little bit easier for the Minnesota Vikings because there wasn't really much of a question in regards to who their quarterback should be moving forward. And Kevin O'Connell even mentioned this following their loss to the Rams.
The other phase of it for Sam is acknowledging the things that made him a winning quarterback this year and the consistency at the times he had it throughout the year and what that meant for our team, because I think that can stay with him moving forward. Sam and the journey him and I went on this year will always, be a something that's a special place in my heart for sure.
So the Vikings opted not to franchise tag Sam Darnold, which I personally thought was a really cool move because this was probably Sam Darnold's best opportunity to get a big contract given how mismanaged his career was up until this point. And it seems like he made a very interesting decision. You see, on Friday, the Seattle Seahawks decided to trade their starting QB, Geno Smith, to the Las Vegas Raiders for a 3rd-round pick, a move that I actually praised them for, primarily because anytime you're headed for a rebuild and you have a top 10 QB that's 35 years old and you can't agree to a contract extension for him, getting a 3rd-round pick in return for him is a huge steal. I think it's a great trade for both sides. I think it's also kind of cute because Geno Smith gets to reunite with Pete Carroll, and I also respected the Seattle Seahawks for being very realistic about their situation. Following that, the Seattle Seahawks decided to break the NFL once again yesterday, trading DK Metcalf to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 2nd-round pick. This once again made a lot of sense because Mike Mike Macdonald is a very defensive-minded head coach, whenever your game plan revolves around your defense, you're going to place a huge emphasis on your rushing attack. My assumption was that they were content with Jackson Smith-Njigba being the #1 wide receiver, and then using that additional cap space on improving their offensive line. Then there's this huge question as to who was going to be their quarterback, and immediately after moving on from Geno Smith, Ian Rappaport said this:
Seattle now needs a quarterback. Lucky for them, it's before free agency. I wouldn't be surprised if they target Sam Darnold, among others.
Yeah, Sam Darnold a possibility. Clint Kubiak up there. His quarterback last year was Derek Carr.
And then on Monday, we found out that the Seahawks have agreed to a new deal with Sam Darnold. So, according to Ian Rappaport, the Seattle Seahawks have their new quarterback. It's Sam Darnold. The former Vikings starter is finalizing a deal with Seattle per the insiders. He gets a 3-year deal worth nearly $100 million, taking the place of Geno Smith. Darnold has been the favorite ever since the trade. Now, if you just look on paper, this deal looks incredible. The Seattle Seahawks get a Pro Bowl quarterback, and they're paying them significantly less than what the average starting QB makes in the NFL. $37.5 million for the next 3 seasons is very undervalued. Sam Darnold is pretty much getting paid about the same amount of money as Derek Carr is getting paid. This makes him the 16th highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Once again, allows the Seattle Seahawks to invest their cap space in other areas, primarily an offensive line and maybe a new edge rusher. And I guess more recently, they could definitely use a new wide receiver, but there are plenty of solid wide receiver 2 options out there, like DeAndre Hopkins, Amari Cooper, and Stephon Diggs. But the one problem is Sam Darnold's body of work is a little uncomfortable. He's had one good season where he was placed in a remarkable situation with an offensive-minded head coach, an all-world supporting cast, and his body of work when placed in such a situation has been incredible. And I'm not saying this is going to flop completely, but I am saying it is a bit of a risk. Regardless, even if the risk doesn't pay off, the Seahawks don't screw themselves over that much. It's only a 3-year deal. On paper, it makes a lot of sense because Sam Darnold is 8 years younger than Geno Smith as well. He's getting paid less than Geno Smith. He reunites with his offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak. In my opinion, I think it's a very low risk, high reward type of situation for the Seahawks. And at the very worst case scenario, if Darnold doesn't live up to your expectations throughout the first 2 years, you could draft your developmental QB during the lifespan of this contract. I think it's a fantastic deal for the Seattle Seahawks. I don't necessarily know if it's 100% the best situation for Sam Darnold. Personally, if the Pittsburgh Steelers were interested in me, I would want to go there, especially with George Pickens and DK Metcalf over there. But for all you know, maybe the Steelers weren't an option. So for the Seahawks, I give them an A for this deal. For Sam Darnold, I give him a B. But Sam Darnold wasn't the only quarterback that agreed to a huge contract today. The New York Jets recently decided to part ways with Aaron Rodgers. And to be honest, I thought it was a very interesting decision to do that because I don't think the Jets really gave Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and that entire team enough time to gel and build chemistry together. But I guess Brick Johnson felt like it was time to move on. So there's a huge question as to who they were setting their sights on at the quarterback position moving forward. Justin Fields has had a very unique career where he's shown us that he could do some things really well, primarily with his abilities as a dual threat QB. He's shown that if he's placed in the right offense and is supported by a very good defense, then he is capable of leading his team to wins, as we saw with the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. Throughout the first 3 seasons of Justin Fields' career, he didn't really have the greatest opportunity to succeed because he was stuck on a rebuilding Chicago Bears team. And originally it was thought that the Pittsburgh Steelers were very motivated to bring back Justin Fields over Russell Wilson, but it seems like they're just letting Justin Fields walk away, which also is an indication as to where the Steelers are looking for this offseason. Because according to Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport, Justin Fields has made his decision, agreeing to a 2-year, $40 million deal that includes $30 million guaranteed with the New York Jets. Now, on paper, I think this is a very interesting fit. The New York Jets have a brand new head coach in Aaron Glenn. Their identity is clearly going to be on the defensive side of the ball. When you combine that with Breece Hall and a dual threat QB, that definitely opens up an opportunity to control the clock in games and place an emphasis on your defense to make crucial stops, while leaning on an offense that is primarily going to be based off of Breece Hall and Justin Fields on the ground. You combine that with some play action that'll feature Garrett Wilson, and I think you have a recipe for some success this year and to potentially surprise some teams. Now you might be wondering how Garrett Wilson feels about Justin Fields being his new quarterback, as Garrett Wilson didn't really have the best start to his career in regards to consistency at the quarterback position. It's actually kind of crazy if you think about it. Like, if you just take a look at this list, I mean, Garrett Wilson had Chris Streveler, Joe Flacco, Mike White, Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, Trevor Siemian, Zach Wilson again, Aaron Rodgers, and now Justin Fields. And given how George Pickens felt about playing with Justin Fields, you might wonder whether or not Garrett Wilson will be annoyed about the fact that he's teaming up with Justin Fields. But then you remember that these two were buddies in college. Garrett Wilson was a first-round pick with Justin Fields throwing him the football. I mean, this is actually really cool. I know these are crazy expectations to place on a quarterback, but so far we've seen nothing but good things from quarterback wide receiver combos that were together in college and continue on in the NFL, primarily in the form of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I think this is a great situation for Justin Fields, but the entire success of their offense is going to be based off of their offensive coordinator, Tanner Engstrand. Is this going to be another dud like Nathaniel Hackett? Is this going to be too complicated of an offense like Mike LaFleur? Regardless, this is once again a low-risk, high-reward type of move. If Justin Fields works out, then great. You get a quarterback that is getting paid $20 million a year to lead your offense, and you might sign him to an extension once that's done. But if after 1 year it doesn't look like Justin Fields is your answer under center, then you could once again draft another quarterback and have Justin Fields play as the backup. I think this is a great move by the New York Jets. I think it's a solid situation for Justin Fields. I'm just kind of nervous because while the Jets have always historically found a way to great situations. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about these deals? Aside from that, I don't know if you heard, but there was a huge trade that went down yesterday. DK Metcalf got traded to the Steelers. Devontae Adams signed with the Rams. We have a completely separate video, and I'll leave it in the end screen and meet you guys there. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.